Hey, well, I'm just passing on what Christy said. Okay, go.
It's going.
What? It is. Oh, it wasn't going on my screen. Hi. Um, there's like a 5-second delay over here. All right. So, do we have sound this time? We will get some people in the chat to tell us.
I can hear you, but I have heard you the
You
whole
could
time.
hear me before. Yeah, we tried that before. All right. Let's assume that we're good until someone tells us otherwise. All right, so Brian from the portal. We're here today with Brian Anderson.
Love, MEPACON love.
Anybody else have weird sounds?
I don't know. I think Brian's weird sound covers it all.
Yeah,
all right.
Actually, I've got a lot more. If you guys need to borrow some, I could probably.
Oh, I gotta love the technology. All right, so anyway, Brian from the portal is here with us today. We're going to talk about what's going on with the portal. Obviously, the whole world has been upended lately, so definitely a lot going on. So fill us in, Brian. What's going on with the portal right now? Pretend like we haven't talked yet, because no one else could hear you.
Okay. So with respects to the portal, our biggest obstacle under these weird, strange times has been, well, one, there's no precedence of how to handle it, I guess. But also just manpower challenges, here in PA, Governor Wolf has made a mandatory stay home. I think that's pretty much most of the areas around us, but in case somebody else doesn't have that same mandate. So we pretty much had to lay everybody off right around, let's call it May 15th or March 15th. So there's been some obstacles coming down the pipeline, a lot of it like federal grant programs, resources out there to help us. But all three of the owners, myself, Michael, and Jay are all working. Jay's working with everybody ordering so much from home. I think if I recall him correctly, Jay said that he's at mandatory 70-hour work weeks.
Wow.
So because they're seeing Christmas volume. UPS, he works at UPS for anyone who doesn't know. They're seeing Christmas volume, but they're not staffed for it, and this is some of it is stuff people need, So, but there's been some good news and coming around right around the beginning of the month, some of the paperwork started coming through, and we started making some progress on some of this stuff, and we're moving in a good direction. This week was the next Magic release, and we handled that pretty well, and we're able to make some money. From a big standpoint is our bills keep coming in, just like your guys' household bills keep coming in. So that's the challenge, is without making any sales, like you're already out of business. So things are looking in a good direction. We'll have to, I think the next curveball is how long does everything go? And the uncertainty, because with the uncertainty, you can't plan a good vision forward. But things are looking good right now.
Good. So if people wanted to buy games from you,
so the best way to currently do it, because we don't have anybody staffed at the store full time, is to probably message us through our Facebook.
Right.
For anyone who doesn't use Facebook, you can any one of our store emails. The easiest is probably ordering at theportalcomicsandgaming.com. So just ordering in the name of our store. Email also works. We are making some slow progress on the web store. We were able to get most of the stuff for the Magic release up there in a timely fashion. But the one thing there is we got to prioritize what's going to, reach a broad audience, not an isolated one or two customers from a time standpoint.
Right.
But if it's mainstream stuff, we're always working and putting more stuff up on the website. We do have some preliminary talks to redo the whole web store while we have this downtime. Like that, and that ties back into the manpower issue or people power issue. But who knows? We've got some good talks already on it, and we'll see if we can figure a way to execute it.
Great. So I see your shirt, Brian.
Yeah, what up? Gotta represent.
And that specifically is your 15-year shirt, right?
Yeah. October 23rd of last year was our 15 years in business.
Isn't that crazy? Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Had a great time at your celebration event in November.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I was, I think you got,
Me and Eddie were there.
yeah, I was going to say, and I think, Katie, you and Eric stopped by just like you had some stuff going on, but I think you popped in the morning, if I recall.
We did, yeah.
I remember you getting old. I can't remember much stuff.
We actually ran into a lot of people from MEPACON. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a big moment for us, because the way I've always envisioned kind of these events. Actually, it's funny. It's similar to like a MEPACON. It's like we always have to do stuff from the business side that generates revenue. But every once in a while, we get a window where, for me, this is a way of trying to bring some of the people who've been with us for 15 years, together and a walk down memory lane almost. And it's not about money. It's not about sales. It's about creating a cool experience to celebrate the travel, the path that we've come down. So, for anyone who attended, thank you. For anyone who didn't attend, I'll see you in 5 years. You better make that one.
Well, hopefully
they'll see you in the fall at MEPACON.
Well, that's true, but
for sure. Sure. Speaking of events and things like that, so I mentioned on our live stream that we did last night that we are talking about doing game day with you guys. You've been our prime sponsor for I don't know, longer than I've been with the convention, I think.
Since Ed bamboozled us many years ago.
They were easy.
Yeah. And so now, we really want to partner with you guys even more and bring the best of MEPACON to the Lehigh Valley a little bit. And
absolutely. So,
go ahead.
So obviously, we were looking at, I kind of like a lot of what we've already talked through. Obviously, the COVID-19 throws a pretty big curve, but I think we had originally narrowed it down to maybe trying for August 22nd. I think that was the radar, a one-day event.
Yeah.
But the rooms looked really good. The pricing and all that came in line pretty well. The guys Mike and Jay are already behind it. So it's really just trying to make sure that the COVID-19 doesn't mess anything up. And I think it's going to be a great, it's not going to be obviously as big or as energetic as MEPACON, but I think the core of it is going to be some great gaming. It's going to be down here in the Lehigh Valley. So we can reach some of the people who can't always make the trip and the travel. One day event makes it, you can come in, come out just for the day, go back home. It is going to be, right now anyway, it's slated to be at a hotel, so people who wanted to stay over could still do that. I don't know. I think it's a great stepping stone, but it encapsulates a lot of the best parts of a convention, and it gives us a building blocks to if it's successful, which it will be, to move forward and keep building the energy and get a satellite, companion event between MEPACON and the Portal down here in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, so, we don't know what's going to happen. We were hoping to be able to sell tickets at this event, which obviously it's kind of hard to sell tickets with everything so up in the air. But I think we can say with certainty that it will happen. If it's not August 22nd, then it will happen at some point in the future. We're definitely interested in Brian and Eric and I went to the hotel and checked it out. And actually, it was a hotel that we had looked at for MEPACON when things worked out that we needed a new place. And the staff there could not have been nicer. And so I said, hey, if we're looking for a place, let's go look. And they've been great.
Kate.
Is that Holiday Inn we looked at?
No, it's it used to be a Best Western. It's now called like the Lehigh Valley Conference Center, right on 512 and 22. So it's
okay.
it doesn't have quite as much space as the Hilton had. So it's wasn't going to work necessarily for a full MEPACON. We'd be kind of squeezed in, but for a smaller event, it should be fun. And their rooms are less than $100 a night and come with free breakfast, free parking. So it's a pretty good situation for people. Yes. Yeah, free breakfast, free parking.
Who doesn't love free breakfast?
Yeah. So for people who want to come and spend the night, it's great. I said, absolutely, I'm spending the night, and we only live 25 minutes away.
It's
I
well
agree.
worth it.
Eric Jacobson is saying on Facebook that it was the old Holiday Inn many years ago.
It was.
Oh, okay.
I thought
Okay. All right, so there you go.
I think I looked at it back in the early 2000s also, just
maybe
as a possible expansion place, which at that time I believe the price was very far out of reach.
Yeah, I think we lucked out. Is her name Cheryl?
Yeah. The pricing wasn't super off from what we were paying at the Hilton, which.
Right.
Oh, but I think when you were looking at that time, the Hilton was out of reach probably too.
Yes, quite, because we did look there, and yes, it was way out of the existing resources.
Yeah. So it's amazing to see how much MEPACON has grown, and the portal too. I mean, looking back, Eric and I used to go to the portal before you guys got the new space, and the parking.
Man, so many good memories there.
Yeah, Jason Bow on Facebook.
Every time I drive by there, I think about it.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah,
I think that one.
That little place, you've got
the one
more space now and parking and.
Was that Dunmore?
Yeah.
Or like, what was it, Teague Street?
A few hotels ago. It's getting to be a blob. I don't really remember.
That's what that little book I gave you is for, tracking back the hotels and the shirts and such. I'm sure it's a lot gone over to spreadsheet.
Well, I have the book. It's in my desk.
Excellent.
So Brian, tell us about what made you guys start the portal in the first place?
Wow.
They wanted to meet me.
Maybe. What a great question. And there's actually a very clearly defined and great story here. So allow me to put on my storyteller hair. So when we were growing up, we all went to, there was kind of like two comic book slash, for anyone who doesn't know, us this close to the industry, when we say a comic book store, we really kind of mean and gaming. It's kind of included in our vision. Right. There are some traditional comic book stores, but as the culture has grown, obviously, how do you make more revenue? You add more product lines. But there is a divide. Like sometimes your comic book people don't play any games, and sometimes your gamers don't care about comics. And we always fell a little bit on the gamer side. But when I say comic book store, I usually mean it's a collective combination of both. So we went to Cap's Cavalcade, who is owned by Dean Flight, who is actually one of our best customers currently. And that was like probably through 20 years old, maybe. And a little bit further over into Allentown, there was the Encounter. But I don't know, we were just never impressed with the basically the customer service. It just wasn't like our jam. Like you would go in there and you just get a weird, there was nothing wrong with the store per se. It's more like the people they had working and that kind of thing.
I remember both those stores well.
Yeah, I think the Encounter started up in Stroudsburg, right?
Yes.
They had two. Yeah, they had two. And actually, for what I heard, the Stroudsburg store was better. But so we didn't like the Encounter. We didn't like having the experience. And then Caps eventually sold and then it sold again. And then the last people that second group that bought it, they just kind of abused the crap out of it. They were like selling Warhammer, people that worked there were selling Warhammer out the back door. So it closed very shortly after, maybe like 2 years after Dean sold it, it was out of business. So we're in our mid-20s, and, we kind of just was like, man, there's no good gaming stores around here. And in addition, we always had a vision. I mean, you guys know me, I'm not shy or short of words. And it's like this idea of that,
Right.
like the Big Bang Theory, there's that comic book store. Like you go in there and just nobody talks to you. Like, it's like, no, we got to break down that wall and create a welcoming environment. And, you're not going to reinvent science overnight. Like, people who are socially awkward are still going to be socially awkward, but it doesn't mean they shouldn't have a safe place to come and meet other people and play some of these great games that we grew up playing, So we started just as a conversation. A fourth partner, Randy Sant, who is no longer with the business, he was like, why don't we open our own? Like, why don't, we keep complaining about how other people are doing it. Why don't we do it ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe about 6 months later, we had a skeleton of like some real ideas together. And then maybe it was January, right around January, we started writing a business plan. And then we went through, so that was 2004. So then we started like building our shelves. We did a lot of work ourselves, because there's two versions when you're opening up a business. You can have a lot of money, or you can find ways to do work that substitutes for money. So not 9 months later, though, we opened the portal illegally, as we did not get our first pass on our inspection. So yeah, that was.
There's another story there.
Oh, there probably is. Yeah, I told everybody we're opening on the 23rd, and the inspector came out that Friday and was like, "Hey, you got to fix a couple small things." And I'm like, "Cool, can you be back here tomorrow morning?" And he's like, "No, I can be back Monday." I'm like, "All right, cool." And when he went away, I said, "Cool, we're opening tomorrow anyway." But they were all small little. It was like, receptacle caps and things of that nature. I've hence learned in the industry that most inspectors just don't pass you on the first time, because they don't want you to think that you can just get away with everything, and their job is to make sure you don't get away with stuff. So they make it kind of a point to make sure that you don't pass on your first scam. So
they got to justify their visit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you figure if they bend, then what are the point of the whatever they call them, laws and regulations? Yeah. What's the point of them if they just ignore them?
If they keep it to a tight and stringent level, then at least everybody will at least work towards that more stringent level. Than if they have a very free, open, well, who cares?
Yeah.
So,
and then that's actually wasting everybody's time and money.
Right.
So yeah, that is the story, how we created the desire and need for the Portal Comics and Gaming. When the local game store closed up, we decided to come up with another one. And from the very beginning, we led with customer service. And I don't know, like with anything, not every single person on our staff is fantastic at it. But when we first, I'd say till 2007, the owners, we took all the shifts. We were rotating. Like Jay and Mike would rotate the weekends. I was working in the early mornings, so I was doing like Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, because of Friday Night Magic we would rotate through. But anyway, point is, we ran the store, and we hopefully, I think we did, but created a new bar for customer service and creating relationships. And here we are 15 years later. So we must have done a couple things, right?
It's very much what we tried to do when we started MEPACON, was put the customer first. And
Yeah.
I was going to say, Brian, you think that having a good atmosphere where people feel comfortable coming back and again, because I don't think with comic book store, my experience with comic book stores and gaming stores, I mean, yeah, having the product is important, but you want people to want to come back, you know, not just rush in, grab a book that they want and leave, right?
Absolutely. And you know, behind the scenes on a little bit of a selfish cue, you know, how do we all know each other? You know, because we like these things, we play these games. You know, so on a selfish, you know, note, there's look, there's people that I can play games with. You know, I've talked to all of you guys here. You know, that I can see anyway. You know, outside of MEPACON, you know, outside of my store. So that's the beauty of it, is that we're creating, you know, with a mask of a business, we are creating a bridge between fellow gamers and, you know, a place where we can have events and fun in the way, in a safe environment that we like as well. Um, you know, I'm very, very much athletically inclined, and despite my little bit weight issues, but I remember like 13 years old. Actually, I have it right here. You guys ready? It's framed.
nice.
My brother ran me through this when I was 13 years old. Okay. And, you know, that's sure. I always worked hard to feed my body, but I wanted to feed my mind too. And that's what I think a lot of this stuff does, you know, whether it's a board game that's, you know, forcing you to think strategically, or the creativity of running a D&D adventure or Pathfinder, you know, the mechanics of learning, like even a new system, right? How many times do we have to learn new things in life, you know? And I mean, those you guys that remember like the 90s, you know, and late 80s, those systems they didn't make sense at all. Palladium, here's a thumbs up to you. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's almost, it's preparing you to be good at life, you know? So I don't know. That's kind of the methodology and purpose behind it, was really sneakily just trying to create a strong community, and allowing people to meet each other. And I'm sure we've made plenty of mistakes, but that was always the driving goal.
Always do.
Yeah, if you're not making some mistakes, you're not taking any actions, and that's
Yeah, you're doing it wrong if you're not making mistakes.
because you're not doing anything.
If you didn't try anything, you'd never get anything wrong, right? It's all about adjusting to what was wrong.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's how you learn.
Hey, Katie, Jack is here.
Yes.
So I'll let him
I was just talking to him. Brian, do you know Jack Birkenstock? Have you met?
Yeah. The name doesn't ring a bell, but
he works with the Bodana Group. And,
okay.
Hello,
Brian,
everyone. How are you?
Hey, Jack.
How are you? Brian is one of the owners of the Portal.
Oh, all right. Hello, hello.
Hey, how are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Yeah, thank you for letting me in here, although I'm not a game designer. I appreciate the work of game designers excessively. So yeah.
We struggled to come up with a name because we have game designers, we have game, you know, we have the Portal, we have a game designer coming in then a little bit later. So we're like, well, whatever.
Game people.
Yes.
Well, and honestly, flexibility is really important in these strange and new times.
That is true.
Yeah.
Truer words have never been spoken.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting given the amount. I mean, we've had to switch a lot of our online groups that we run. Like we use RPG and board games for education and therapy. So we were used to meeting in person. And once everything started happening, we had to make the most immediate shift to online. And I think we're actually kind of blessed in a way that when people are like, so you want to play board games online? And we go, okay, which one of the 15 different Portal server kind of things do you want Tabletopia? Do you want tabletop this? Do you want board game arena? Like, so I think we're it's a good time technologically for all of the adjustments, unless I'm, of course, weighing in a manner that was not with where the conversation was, in which case I apologize.
Well, first off, all opinions are welcome and have value, so it's appreciated. Actually, I agree with you. I think this is we'll see how it plays out on the other side, but I think this is a really, things like this from a societal standpoint are great to shake things up a little bit and force you to figure, out of your comfort zones. And some of these platforms have existed. Like I've been making fun of people about Zoom, right? We're on Zoom right now, right?
Yep.
I'm like, hello, I was using Google Video 5 years ago. Why did Zoom need to be created? And they're like, well, you can do this. I'm like, no, Google Meet does that already. So, but of course, this is out of our comfort zone, and we learn new technologies. My mom she has a book club, and they're meeting on Zoom, So, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know why, it's because of marketing. Zoom took the advantage of a marketing opportunity, and that's why we're all using Zoom right now. Yep. So, marketing people, there you go. Good job.
Oh, yeah, Zoom was giving away free licenses during the pandemic. So I work in tech, so I use whatever one, 1 minute I'm meeting in WebEx, the next it's Zoom, the next it's Google Meet. So what would I say? They're all basically the same thing.
Exactly. And really, Trish, my point was really, why did one need to be invented if it already worked? So if you have a wheel, you don't need a new wheel. You've got a wheel.
Oh, I have been so accused of old man ranting when folks are like, "Oh my God, dude, you gotta try like Snapchat," and I'm like, "Well, what does it do?" "Well, you can like post and share pictures," and I'm like Facebook, and they go, yeah. "Well, no, it's totally not like Facebook," and I'm sitting there and I'm trying to go, "All right." Like I want like a board with like red conspiracy theorist string so I can go share pictures, post. Yes, yeah. Well, but ours you can only use like 3 characters, so it's so like amazing. And I'm like
a Venn diagram.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing.
That's great.
But I mean, the tech levels are also good because people have a lot. I think if we look at something like, VTC, video teleconferencing, before that was like you needed like a $6,000 setup and it was only like for offices or this. But now, well, we have some groups who we can do through Roll20. Well, for, some of the people in those groups that don't have laptops or don't have PCs, it's not necessarily always friendly. So then you have like Zoom and Meets and everything else that like, yeah, you can call them with a cell phone or you could do this. And there's so many unique combinations. It's like we got more spices in the kitchen. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And that's, we align perfectly on this. It's driving us basically to learn our technologies better. When I say us, I mean old people like myself who are just bored of this. But at the end of that tunnel, we'll all be in a better place. The technology will have gotten better as it has adapted to the needs and demands, and the people, of course, will have better tools in their arsenals as well. And how does it relate to the gaming community as a whole? We'll see. Ultimately how it plays out, and if I go out of business because everybody just does it online, but still. It's cool to see, because there's always a window there to just evolve with it and create a new and exciting adventure down this other road, or this new road.
Well, I think we're at a unique point, like to Jack's point, the technology already existed. So I work at a college. We've had this stuff for years, right? But a lot of times people just didn't use it because they didn't have to. And it was hard and difficult, and I'm kind of like, no, click this link, poof, it opens up. And they're like, wow, this stuff really works. And I'm like, yeah, it really worked before too, but you just didn't try, but now it works. So you can get more comfortable with it. And I think in the gaming world, we're building communities in different ways than we did before.
Well, I think that going to a gamer specific, like talking about like you have Tabletop Simulator, Tabletopia, and Board Game Arena, and like I have to say that my first kind of, I guess this is like gamer privilege or whatever, like my first like exposure to Tabletop Simulator, I'm like, oh, So it's pretty much the equivalent. Like if I come over to your house and I bring my copy of Wingspan and I just dump the components on the table and go play. You know how to do it. And I'm like, wait, it doesn't guide me or keep score or do that. No, it's pretty much here's the components and go. And then I go over to Board Game Arena and that guides you through the game. But trade-off is Board Game Arena has like 175 games. Tabletop Simulator has a ton more games, but even then, like I never even thought of what my experience online would be because I kind of took for granted that I could be in a room with people and, you had that fiddly bits and it's like, it does it, but does it do it like this or like that? It's really interesting the way that it's also augmenting the technology as we go as well.
Yeah, I mean, we started doing some online gaming when Trish moved to New York because we were playing Pathfinder in person at least once a month. And then Trish moved and we were like, could she come down sometimes? But it wasn't always convenient. So we started with Trish is going to call in and everybody else is going to be in person. And then someone else would say, oh, I can't make it. Okay, well, let's go ahead and do that. And my husband, Eric, started gaming Starfinder with some friends in California. Well, obviously, he's not going to California once a month. And then, so by the time this all happened, we were pretty well set up to transition, and we had already worked toward that process, and we had a couple of microphones and some headsets, and, we've upped that game a little bit since. But I mean, I can say I cannot wait to get back in person at the portal. I really wanted to go to Save Against Fear. I've been trying every year and it hasn't worked out. And, this is great. The online environment, I'm so glad that we get to talk to you guys and that we get to do these panels and like all these things we've never done before. But I am so sad that we are not all in person together right now. Brian pops up on the screen and I just want to give him a hug,
Sorry, 6 feet. 6 feet. We got a hug from 6 feet away.
Yeah. You do one of those, did you see the picture of the shower curtain thing with the arm? Yeah. That some kid invented. But what I'm hoping is that we take something like this that we've done virtually, and now we're like, okay, we did this. We could do this in person. There's no reason why we can't. That we did it and it worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm hoping we kind of blend things together.
And, Eric had said maybe we do these online events like once a month or every other month. And, even once the world opens back up, maybe that's something we want to continue to do just because we do get access to more people who don't have to travel. And, we can bring more people in, like Brendan LaSalle, for example, moved to Georgia, can't come back up all the time. He's going to talk to us tonight. So we wouldn't have had that if it weren't for all of this. So maybe it is something that we want to keep at least elements of, but it's not going to replace MEPACON,
Yeah, it definitely could not. I mean, that, that kind of, there's something about that kind of energy. And I think especially when, like, you talk about the difference between a Gen Con versus MEPACON or Save Against Fear. I mean, smaller events have that more intimate. I mean, the first time I went to a MEPACON was, I think, like 5 years ago at this point. Still at my poker chip. And, so all this from back then, it was kind of like, this is my first time like coming out here and I didn't really know anyone. And that closeness, you think that not being in that physical space would immediately erase that. But this alternative, like a lot of people have been learning again through technology, that you can still have, it's not the best option perhaps, but you can still have that closeness because you're still, with the advance of it's not just an on the phone conversation. Like, yeah, I can't wait until we can be in that real time meetup space again. But I like what you're talking about with, maybe if, we wanted someone to be a part of a panel, but we can't, even from a fiscal standpoint, from a con, like, we don't have to pay airfare or whatever to get somebody to participate in an hour panel. And it also doesn't disrupt that person's entire life.
Right.
to get them to take part in a con. So maybe it can expand and increase a lot of this participation between people, because you don't have to worry about, like, you know, taking somebody away from their family forever or whatever.
Right.
It opens up a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, we got asked to participate in 2 online conventions, and we were just like, sure, that's, you know, take a half an hour out of my day, that's no problem, you know?
Yep.
If I had to travel to 2 conventions in back-to-back weekends, that's not going to happen, you know?
Yeah. But Eric Jacobson says, how could we buy physical raffle tickets?
Yeah.
We did actually talk about how we could do, like, virtual raffle.
Yeah, they do have virtual raffle stuff. We could look into that, and you know, something that I think we can think about for the fall, and I know you know, Jack, I think you may be looking at some of this stuff too, is how do we make the real world experience into the digital world? Like, how can we do the raffle? How can we do the auction? How can we do the dice guess? Like, is it possible to do all of those things in the online environment? And in this situation, because we hoped that we'd be in person this weekend and didn't anticipate that it was going to go this way, we only had 4 weeks to transition from in person to online. And so, you know, we did a few things, but we just wanted to focus on connecting people to play games. That's the core of MEPACON. Yeah. And so that was where we put our energy and our focus. And, you know, if we have to do this again in the fall, then maybe we'll be able to offer some more of those extras, you know.
Well, I mean, one, it's a logistics thing. I mean, anytime that, because we've even, like, with a lot of, because Save Against Fear is a fundraiser for Bodhana, so that's our primary reason for running it. But the secondary is getting people together. And when, like, we've already made the decision that we don't think October we're going to be ready yet as a society, as a culture. Also, like, people's finances are in question, and, you know, so we're like, we don't want to put that added strain on. But it's also what you were just saying about, we're learning this whole new thing now, so let's take part in other people's, and let's learn about what's succeeding and not succeeding and how to do that best. Because, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind, you do an electronic raffle and people are like, how do we know that programs are there? Is this like Florida voting? Like, come on, what's going on here? But figuring out about a lot of those logistics and a lot of those things about, yeah, you can do it, but you want to do it in a way that's going to be rewarding and satisfying, as well as, like, you know, above board. So it's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know there are particular programs that are designed for that. I don't know all the details because I've never actually had to do something with it. But they do exist. You know, and depending on, I guess, the I don't know what the right word is, depending on the value of the raffle, maybe it matters more or less. You know, when you have expensive things, then it might be a little bit more important to keep those things. You know, we did a raffle for here, we'll send you free stickers, and I made a spreadsheet and it was no big deal, but for more expensive things, it would.
You have a $500 set of Massive Darkness? What? I want to see your source code, mister.
Yeah.
Eric's saying, you know, the physical raffle is fixed anyway, you know, with the silly emoji. You know, believe me, we've had so many, you know, the dice guess is fixed. You know, why is it that a 10-year-old, well, he's now 17, keeps guessing, you know, correctly? It's like, well, math, for one thing.
I could
it's
not
clearly
believe...
not fixed for anyone who's on the bubble, because I don't win all the time.
I could not believe that Ed won his first convention as not the director. That was insane.
That was odd.
It really was. And I could tell you, one of our volunteers, Andrew, has been doing the dice guess for me, and he has, I mean, I don't even know how many are in there. And he doesn't breathe it to anybody. He says, I know it. And he'll like even take pictures. He'll put groups of 10 dice together and take pictures. And, you know, and I love how thorough he is. But it was really honestly above board. And Andrew looked at me, he's like, "You're not going to believe this." And it was Ed.
I always find it so funny as we're walking around with the dice, it's every time there's at least 5 people that'll say to me, well, how many dice are in there? I'm like, I don't have
No
a clue,
idea.
okay?
Right?
And when
I never told anybody when I was running it.
When I
It was
have
just
guests,
me.
I've always been wrong.
One time.
So I just donate money.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you.
Oh, you know how many it is? I'm like, no. I really don't know.
Now, we used to do an achievement system at Save Against Fear years ago where, like, tried a new game for the first time, or it was like your 5th year being at a Save Against Fear or whatever. So we would give like points, like Xbox Live achievements, and the high 3 point runners for the weekend would get a free pass for next year. And I kid you not, my buddy Brandon won the free pass by being the top score owner like 4 years in a row, and everybody was like, fix, rig. And I'm like, have you seen the man's like itinerary when he comes to the event? Like, this guy, it's like he's at his job. Like, he puts in the time. So calm down, folks, calm down. It's it's weird what people get incited over.
Yeah, that's really cool. That sounds like an awesome idea. We started a scavenger hunt. That was pretty cool. We had a good time with that this last convention, and we want to bring that back next time as well. It was a good time. So
I think people like those extras,
Yes. Yeah, well, and that's it. Like, it's so much fun being able to throw in these extra things and to do all these little things that just bring a special touch to the event. We added the puzzle table. People love just kind of wandering by and working on the puzzle a little bit. We added the giant games. Was a huge hit when Ed started bringing giant Jenga. We had so much fun with that. I am so mad. I bought a game that is a carpet, literally a carpet, and it has 4 different game boards on it, and you can play checkers and you can play tic-tac-toe. There's all sorts of stuff on it, and it has like big pieces, and I'm so excited. It's currently living in my daughter's playroom.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It's so cool. I went to Seymour, which unfortunately went out of business, but at the out of business sale, I'm there and I'm like, I have to buy this, and I'm throwing stuff and trying to carry things around, and but I was like, this has to be a MEPACON thing. It has to be. So it'll happen next time we're in person. But yeah, it's those little extras. I remember, how many times did we have a group of people literally all standing around the giant Jenga just waiting for it to fall? I mean,
for Ed to whoop their behinds.
Yeah, right? And then you'd hear the scream from the other room and you go, oh, somebody lost Jenga.
Yeah. We actually, when what was it, the Toys R Us, when they were shutting down, we actually bought a bunch of the larger than normal size Kerplunks.
Nice.
And it never fails to amaze us. Like, we take that out when we go to like other cons, or we take that when we go, like, the crowd that amasses against that. And it's that larger than life kind of quality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think my wife is crazy sometimes because she's like, could we like buy foam blocks and make foam meeples and create like a life-size Rampage, Terror in Meeple City? And I'm like, oh my God, like the real estate that would, it would be awesome, but the real estate that would require to like throw huge fake boulders or monster tokens at this like a ginormous Meeple City. But people would love it,
Yeah. And then where does that stuff get stored in between? Where
that's
my garage is full.
Problem.
Yeah, well,
I don't have a bedroom.
It sounds great, and then it's like, oh, where are we going?
I know. I mean, and we were really lucky to have Scott stored so much stuff for us when we were in Scranton, because it was local and he could run back and forth. It was no big deal. And then we moved, and now it's not so convenient. So Eric and I gave up literally a portion of our bedroom that is just a shelf upon shelves full of MEPACON stuff. It's just, and then Trish and Lance took stuff home, and you know, we've got just stuff scattered to the winds, but it's got to live somewhere.
Yeah, we have an active board game library through donation and support from whatever. We have a library of like 1,600 board games stretching all the way back and whatever. And we had a storage facility that was donated to us for a while, but then kind of situations, and we don't begrudge the company, like we understand, hey, thanks. But for years we had a storage facility, and then all of a sudden we didn't have a storage facility. So we were like, oh crap. So literally I have like 24 Rubbermaid tins in what used to be my bedroom. So I feel you about giving up a portion of your real estate for that.
Yeah.
That the struggle is real.
Yeah. We just cleaned out our garage, so hopefully we can move some of that stuff out there.
So can I ask a weird question? What's with all of this being like, normally people are like, oh, I played this because all of the time or whatever, with folks being kind of where they're at, what's the newest thing that you've played lately?
We've played more Pathfinder than ever before.
Okay, so more to the RPG you've gone.
Yeah, so we've definitely gone more RPG. I don't think Eric and I have played anything new in the online environment, but we wrote a Pathfinder second edition scenario, and so we streamed a little bit of it last night with Trish and Ed and Donald and Scott, but we have put together 3 or 4 different groups to play it online now that everybody's available. I actually think
that was my first time playing Pathfinder second edition.
Wow. Yeah. I think we are busier now than we were before quarantine. You know, we're still working full time, and then we're gaming more than we have and forever. I mean, Trish knows we've been playing the same Pathfinder first edition campaign for 5 years, and we're like tearing through it now because we can get together every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You know, it's no problem because getting together just involves opening up your laptop.
Well, that's
we were going.
I don't know if it's downside, upside, or what it is, but you know, I work in tech, so, and I'm supporting the college to move online. So I've been busier. I'm working 12, 14-hour days, and then helping everybody on the weekend who also needs help, like virtually socializing, or we're doing Sunday school online. And so, yeah, I'm busier than ever. So when I see these things like, have you learned how to knit? Have you made bread? I'm like, are you kidding?
What is the obsession with learning to make bread? I don't
know.
People should be learning how to make toilet paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My stepdaughter is making bread, though.
You know, how to use a bidet, apparently.
Yeah, right? In fact, my stepdaughter is outside right now gardening. She's torn up our entire backyard practically. Oh, no, she's back inside. No, she heard me. Here she comes.
What are you doing?
We were talking about what's the obsession with making bread. And I said, yeah, my stepdaughter has learned to make bread. This is Emily, everybody.
It takes a long time, like with sourdough, and... Oh, I get it. Hold on. The number one reason why people like making bread is you get to punch something that feels like human flesh, but isn't human flesh. There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
That's a good reason, actually. That's
a
a lot better reason than like, oh, I'm bored.
My grandmas are so good at what they do. They're always angry.
Yeah, we made cinnamon rolls. That was one of our Mother's Day mom-daughter activities.
But we didn't need it at hand. By hand.
We just used the KitchenAid, though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And the KitchenAid took like an hour and a half to knead the dough. So I don't know how long it would take for us to do it by hand.
Yeah. So, yeah, we had pulled out some bushes because we were getting new siding, and Emily has repurposed that entire section for gardening. So that's what she's invested her time in. But what about the rest of you? Wait, back to Jack's question. What games have you been playing?
Nobody? A new game that was on a Kickstarter that somebody shared on Facebook called The Crypt that we couldn't figure out. On the first go round, we couldn't figure out how we were supposed to be playing it, but you know.
The Crypt, you said?
Yeah. It's a dice building game. I don't know. I should go get it. Hold on. Continue chatting. I will go find the actual thing.
Jack, do you have an answer to your question?
Yeah. I'm just shooting that question. No, I want everybody else to talk. One of my favorite, actually two games that are kind of favorite for me. One that I've just got recently was Isle of Cats.
Okay.
It's basically the whole design is there's this island and it's full of these wonderful, beautiful cats, and they're represented by these Tetris pieces of cats, like just kind of lounging around and doing their thing. And so there's Lord Vesh Darkhand who's coming. He's like, I hate cats. Rah, 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 I want to kill these cats. So you're rescuing cats off this island. So you get fish, and you have to basically buy cards that may contain like baskets or special powers. And you have a ship board that basically is all square gridded. So your whole deal is to rescue as many cats off the island in 5 days. And there's like adorable meeples, and maybe I should say I have 3 fuzzy cat children on the way. But it's a really awesome game that plays so smooth and simple.
Nice.
And it's just there's an expansion that I finally got my hands on that plays up to 6. So that's one that I've gotten. And then the other is the Deadlies from Smirk and Dagger, one of my favorite board game companies ever.
Tell me what the first one was again, and then we
Isle of Cats.
Okay.
I'm actually going to look up the designer while I'm here, so I can be Mr. like typing like I'm playing a timpani drum or something. Isle of Cats. Come on.
It's on Board Game Geek.
Yes. Why isn't the company
City of Kings? cityofkings.com is the website.
Okay, yes. I forgot. Publisher, the City of Games. And of course, 5 more because everything has, well, I guess it's just different companies. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing, and it's so easy to put. They even have a mode. They have a solo mode, which is another great trend that's happening in games right now. But they have a mode that's basically like, if you're new to board games, or if you're new to this game, it's actually one that like kickstarts your goals and your agendas. So there's like a special deck. So it's a really good player-friendly game. The Deadlies is a little bit more nefarious. It's a fast-acting card game where you play cards that represent the 7 deadly sins. And the whole idea is to get rid of your cards while trying to make other people draw cards, and get your little counter down to 0. And to be the first player to do that, you have to go through 3 rounds of getting all rid of your, like, gluttony, for example, is you either take 3 cards or you force another person to take another card. So each of the cards' actions go along with what the sin was, or So it's a very interesting game called The Deadlies. It just recently came out from Smirk and Dagger.
Nice. Yeah, we'll post links to that then for anybody who watches this later.
Sweet.
Here's a game we just recently discovered.
Oh.
Great game. It's very simple but strategic, unbelievably strategic, and the way, depending on how you play it, you can really hose the other person.
Oh boy.
Oh, yes.
Our friends Benjamin and Casey Lobick had introduced it to us a while, and amusingly enough, the very first 2 games that we played, I creamed everybody. Since that time, and I did that by hosing my wife once, which
Nice.
she reminded me that she knew where I slept. But she has gotten quite good at it, and now we split the games pretty evenly.
Nice.
It's just a very beautiful pattern creation game, and just playing out the strategies.
Yeah, the drafting mechanic in that game is incredibly intense at times.
Yeah, very much. And you got to decide sometimes on, do you want to take a penalty to get ahead later, as opposed to playing it safe and not taking the penalty now and maybe sacrificing points later.
Yep.
There you go.
Have you played any of the other? I mean, they're not really technically expansions because each one is its own standalone game.
The variations, not yet. Mostly, we've just been playing this one. We have learned pandemic during this pandemic, and we have played that. We've lost maybe a third to a half of the games on the easiest setting. What else do I have? The game Eclipse is one of my favorites. I love Eclipse, but you need a lot of time to play it. And my son really hates it when I come at the last minute and crush his forces. What else do we have? What I'm looking at is I have this shelf of games that is above our fireplace. Yeah. King of Tokyo. I like Terra Mystica, but haven't had the opportunity to play it much. Terraforming Mars, I'm a very big fan of the logistics and empire builder stuff.
Are you into social deduction games at all?
Not quite hearing that.
Something got real quiet.
Sorry, I had my mic up. I was taking my temperature. I'm sorry. have you? Do you play any like of the social deduction games?
Which are those?
Well, normally it would be ones like Coup or Secret Hitler or something like that. But there's one very unique one in here. I'm going to sound like I get like ad copy from Smirk and Dagger, but there's a game that was actually the designers local to Pennsylvania. It's a game called Menace Among Us. And the whole idea is like you're on a spaceship and the spaceship just got trashed. Like you have close to no oxygen, no power, and everybody in the ship plays a role that could either be helpful to the crew or you're part of the menace. And the whole idea is you get to play above deck and below deck actions, and it all goes into a face down action deck that you randomly shuffle. So you don't know who plays sabotage cards or who plays give us energy cards. But through the course of the game, every round you have the option of you have a fake pistol, and we use like an oversized Nerf gun, and it sits in the middle of the table. And that's we're going to take a vote now on who we think the traitors are. And if someone gets found out to be the betrayer, they go in the brig and they can still send commands to the ship, but they're now all below deck actions. And the game has a randomizer called Emma, which is an AI. So if enough players didn't throw in cards, Emma throws in cards to fill to what our minimum needs to be. And like people at first are like, yeah, okay, it's kind of thing. And then at the end of this game, it's like an episode of Firefly. Like it's absolutely crazy, Tad. It's called Menace Among Us. It's an amazing title.
I have not played that one, though. I think I heard somebody describing it at somewhere, maybe MEPACON.
It's very good.
New to me. Sounds great though.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it.
I don't play many of them, but I've played some similar ones. The most frequent social game would, I guess, be Werewolf.
Yeah.
We always loved the kids love to play the Resistance.
Oh my gosh. The twins were so into Werewolf back in the day.
Yeah, and I took a copy of the Resistance to a professional conference I was going to. And then I couldn't play, and my game has disappeared. So I have to get a new copy.
Oh, no. Yeah, We've been playing a lot of Get the MacGuffin, not so much since quarantine because it's good for large groups, but I remember we went to PAX Unplugged and we were going to the Glass Cannon podcast show at the main stage on Friday night, and of course the line was super long, and we went and waited for like an hour and a half, and so we brought the game and we just started bringing out games, and we're like, let's play. Here's one. We played Schrodinger's Cats with a group of people. You could play, Yep. And they were great. They're great, nice, quick games. I actually, now of course, Brian's already moved on to other things, but after I was really introduced to Schrodinger's Cats, I teach probability in 8th grade. That's what I do. So I went to the portal and I bought 4 copies and I brought them into school, and I taught. During study hall, I took a group of kids, I taught them to play, and then I strategically picked kids that I had in my class so that I could put one kid who had played with every group of students and taught a whole classroom full of kids to play Schrodinger's Cats to complement our probability unit, and it was phenomenal.
You're speaking my language. Actually, both of you are speaking my language, because like one of my favorites for classroom, for classroom as well as professional, there we go, is Mental Blocks. Have you played that yet?
No.
It's a Pandasaurus title. Basically, you get geometric shapes. So it could be like a triangle block or a straight rectangle block or a square block. And they come in different sizes and different colors. And then what you do is you get cards that are like clues. So I might get a card that is just literally one 2-dimensional face of a 3D design.
Okay.
And the table has to guess how to make the shape when only one person has one side, another person has another, and you can't share your perspectives.
So it's all
with
about
the other
communication.
Players. Yep. Communication, logic. It's brilliant.
Yeah. That's a great one. I'm keeping a running list, so we'll post all these later too.
So I did get the game as Crypt, and it's got just beautiful printing and cards.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
But I think we have to. Play it a few times. It's one of those that we're like, oh yeah, we know how to play this, and then we're like, oh wait, you have to give up your whole turn in order to get your things back. No, you don't. Yes, you do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Jack, tell us more about Save Against Fear.
All right. Thank you. I'll try not to be. I always feel like I talk too much during these things.
No, that's why we brought you in.
So, Save Against Fear is an annual 3-day board game, role-playing game convention. No bleep bloop machines. The only video games that ever appear is in Artemis. Thank you, Amanda. And
I was going to say, same here.
Extra Life. Yeah, those are the only two people who ever get to have any kind of video games. And even then we bill Artemis as live action role playing. So
it kind of is.
Yeah, especially with some of the mission stuff. But the whole point of the weekend is it started out as a fundraiser that we ran at a local game store, 6 Feet Under Games. And through the years, it has grown into the Bodana Group's main fundraising platform. In recent years, we've added continuing education approved trainings for therapists on the use of role-playing games therapeutically. So we teach people about the theory, the practice, application. We're actually going to be adding a 301 practicum course to this, so this way therapists can learn, or teachers. We've had just as many educators in learning like how to write stories with injected meaningful content, because it's all about skill building and practicing and exposing people to things that outside of the game they might never deal with. So that's turned into our main stage. It's currently we have what we're our online version that we're still developing is Save 9.5. It's not quite our 10th anniversary because we figure a milestone like that should be celebrated in person. So that will be in 2021.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
yeah, it's a great blast of a time. Brendan has been to Save Against Sphere for years in a row. Eddie Webb from Pugmire, Eloy Lasanta, Third Eye Games. Like, we've had a ton of special guests over the years, and it's just a great time where we get to talk about, you know, what we do as a nonprofit organization. So all proceeds from Save, no one takes a salary for the event. It's all volunteer led, but it all goes to our programs.
That's great. And one of the things we wanted to look at, we talked a little bit in our stream about what the future of MEPACON looks like and what our vision is. And we really want to do our best to support charities that are close to our hearts in terms of what we're doing. You know, we're looking at becoming a 501c3 so that we can even better support other groups that are doing things that are great community services. And the first one that everybody came to was yours, and the Bodana group. I mean, it's gaming and it's kids and it's, you know, it's therapy. It's great stuff. And so we're super excited to hopefully start to raise some money for you guys. Obviously it's a little bit hard right now, but we do want to make sure we throw out there for everybody how to get to you guys and get to your website and send some donations. You know, obviously money is tight for many people right now and it's tough, but if you have a little extra and you can send it some way, you know, Bodana Group is a great opportunity to give back a little bit to the community.
You know, we what we normally kind of let folks know is, I mean, basically we provide direct services to kids, teens, and adults, anything from anxiety to depression, people who are on the autism spectrum. We run board game and role-playing game programming. We try to offer it at low to no cost to families. So, you know, your donations goes to buy a rule book for a child. And the way that we run our model is we actually don't, like, we believe that if someone's in our group for like 5 or 6 years, we're probably not doing as good a job as we could. So we actually run a lot of our sessions out of local game stores to support local business. Nice. But it also develops that natural supports that, I mean, we all as gamers know there are friends that we've met over the table. There's friends we've met during session that are still with us. Some people I know met their husbands or wives through gaming. So let's give them the gift of gaming as a communication tool, as a way to connect with other people. So in addition to that, if you run an organization that you would like a gaming program at, we do consultation, we do training. We're currently actually we're doing our first research project with Harrisburg University of Science and Technology. We're studying the efficacy of role-playing with anxiety. So that's a huge thing that's awesome. Going on right now. And every little bit helps. And again, we don't want anybody to strain themselves right now. Awareness, you know, go to the Facebook page for the Bodana Group. Go to our main webpage, www.thebodanagroup.org, or email us at thebodanagroup@gmail.com. And all of those ways are ways to get in contact with us, find out more about what we do, and we don't mind questions, and we definitely don't mind emails. So plus, that's great. I know that we always have been more than welcome with having tables, and we've run games at MEPACON for a number of years now that we're getting our satellite crews in order. So, you know, Jack learning he doesn't have to be everywhere.
So Jack, we have a question about what the website is again. It's Bodana Group. Could you spell that?
Yes, it would be www. Would it be easier if I posted it in the chat?
That's good.
Okay. Yeah, because it's one of those weird things that at certain points, people are like, how the heck do you spell it? And then in the same breath, people are like, well, how the heck do you say it? Because we've heard Bodhana, all kinds of different breakdowns. But it's BODHANA group, and it's thebodanagroup.org. Bodhana is actually a Sanskrit word that means leading to an awakening or an understanding. So it's all about people growing through games without us having to like point out every 5 minutes, like, okay, Johnny, we're going to work on communication now by playing blah, blah, blah. So.
That's great.
I had wondered where the name came from.
Yeah. Yeah, that's we have a lot of friends that pronounce it MEPACON. Ed has pronounced it MEPACON as opposed to MEPACON, and they'll say to us like, well, is it wrong? And Ed's official position, and we have adopted it, is I don't care how you pronounce it as long as you're talking about it. So you go ahead and pronounce it however you want.
Yeah, I'd have two people come up to me and ask me, do you pronounce it MEPACON or do you pronounce it MEPACON? And I'd say yes.
You know.
Totally correct.
Yeah, just keep talking about it. Whatever, it's all good.
Yep.
Argue about it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Keep it in the consciousness.
Yeah. So, well, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing.
No, thank you for having me on board. I hate to, advertise for my nonprofit and run.
Oh.
But I did say thank you for letting me be a part of virtual MEPACON. I actually just ran my first of 2 Ghostbusters RPG sessions for this weekend. This is the West End Games role-playing Ghostbusters.
Very nice.
It's actually I won it in an auction. It's near pristine. Like the books have sheen on them yet. But it's cool. One of the gentlemen in the games actually has some original ghost eyes, so I may be able to score like another ghost eye. And I'm like, oh, dude, that's amazing. Because West End was, of course, in Pennsylvania. So.
Oh, there you go. That's awesome. Yeah, we're excited to have you here, and we're excited to be in person, the next time we can, and we'll, just one foot in front of the other, right? That's all we can do.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
It was great to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you again. It's been years.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, come everything. We'll be looking hopefully around. I guess November is our next hopeful portal, correct?
Yeah, our next event is scheduled for November 6th to 8th, 2020. Okay.
Yeah, and I think
whatever you do it.
Yeah, so someone was asking on Facebook if we're going virtual in November, and the response that I gave them was, we don't know. We're still waiting, but I think at this point I can safely say we will have an event that weekend. If it's virtual, it'll be virtual. If it's not, it'll be in person. We'll roll badges again if we need to roll badges again. That's okay. And the hotel will move rooms again if that's what we need to do, and we'll just keep going with it.
Yeah, the hotel has been great.
We couldn't have asked for better for them.
Oh, well,
I was expecting like pushback or like,
so many smaller event organizers I know have had such a hard time with hotels, and they're like, hello, like and it's just, yeah, I'm so that'll get me started on a diatribe that we do not have time for.
I'm not going anywhere, so.
I say the evils of greed 101. It's my biggest pulpit stance ever. It's money. It is truthfully the root of all evil.
Well, and that's where I know that we had some problems at the new hotel, and leaving the Hilton was not our choice. That was not what we intended. But going to a place that's family owned has been a wonderful experience for us, and being able to work directly with, people high up in the chain because they own it. It makes a lot of difference for us. I think it will be even better than the Hilton, especially as they renovate and things like that. I think it's going to be a really good experience when we get back in there.
Well, it's less corporate, and I think it speaks more. Look at me speaking like I'm part of your team, but I think it speaks more to the spirit of MEPACON.
Yes.
Where you're talking about it being more homey and more family oriented. Yep. You get people that understand.
Yes.
Like a corporate culture could give a rat's. You know what I mean? Like they're like, okay, how much are you bringing in this weekend? How many people do you have staying at the hotel? I'm like, well,
are you going to cater a dinner? We're like, no.
Yeah.
So that's not what we do.
There were
no one will pay $100 for your, excuse my language, shitty pasta. Thanks very much.
And some of the
here I thought I was Randy. Look at what I started. I'm sorry.
And some of the hotels would require that. They'd say, you have to have a dinner. And we go, we don't want to have a dinner. People just want to play.
Like, people are going to bring
this year. I'm going to let them in.
Yes, good.
Now, all those weird rules, like, you know, well, you need to rent out at least this many rooms.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's a local it's a local event. Most people are not getting rooms. You know what I mean? So yeah, a lot of those.
We've sometimes had the opposite problem where we are booking a lot of the rooms, and they're like,
a lot of rooms.
yeah, booking the rooms is fine, but that doesn't really bring us in as much revenue as whatever.
Yeah.
As what? Overpriced pasta?
I guess.
Pretty much.
Oh wow.
Well, and the other thing that's been a frustration over time is turnover in the hospitality industry, and you have a great relationship with some manager, and then they leave, and the new person's like, yeah, whatever.
Well, and that
was
Sister Tricia.
Yeah,
that was the hardest part of dealing with the hotels, was breaking in a new salesperson after we got one trained to know what we were doing and how we did it, and being able to anticipate what we would like and how we worked, and have somebody completely new that just did not know gaming.
Yeah. You go from someone who like give you a hug and oh my God, how's your kids been? And then the next year it's like David Spade, and you are like it's.
Yep.
And ultimately, that was the downfall of the Hilton for us, was that they had turnover and didn't reserve our dates with the next person, even though we had booked them, you know, but we didn't have the contract yet because we had been there for 5 years and had a good relationship. And, you know, the people higher up were upset that it happened, but there wasn't a lot they could do to fix it. So, you know, that was ultimately, it wasn't malicious. It wasn't anybody's fault. And the Hilton did everything they could to help us out, but we had no choice.
The best place that we were at that we left because of size, not because of service, was the place up in Clark Summit. They did not want to see us go, and we had the run of everything.
The whole place.
Was that the place with the small diner that was like across the street, a little catty corner that had like a slamming like it was like a smaller hotel, right?
It was smaller, but I don't think it was that one. It had a restaurant in the same parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah, one time it was a
Damon's.
Like a Damon's or something.
Yes, it was Damon's.
It was definitely a Damon's.
Yeah, it was a Damon's. Eric confirms. I don't know if you can hear.
They didn't care if I walked on the bar, which I did a lot, just because it was entertaining.
Coyote Layman.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Hadn't thought of it that way.
All right. Well, I am truthfully going to leave you all, so thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Good to see you, Jack.
Thank you for coming in,
All
Jack.
Right. Be well, and good luck for a continued great weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
So up next, we just brought in James. Oh, he's muted. He's waving.
This might work.
Hey,
you guys
there you
hear me
go.
all right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Perfect.
Cool.
Great. So for those of you out there who don't know who James is, James has been working with MEPACON for years now. At least
4 years, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say 3-4 years. And has been in our vendor room and has demoed games and is a game designer for Caster Cards, right? And I'll let you tell more about Caster Cards because you're the expert.
I don't know if I would use the term expert. I'm just kind of winging it most of the time.
Aren't we all?
That's what I did.
Right. So I'm actually really excited to be on with you guys because this year I will be releasing 3 games.
That's impressive.
Which will be my first releases. Play testing's
awesome.
all done. Everything's gone through. Very excited about that. And I just lost audio from you guys.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
So the first one is going to be a sci-fi themed, randomly generated dungeon crawler.
Oh.
That one's called Adversary Raid on Phobos.
Okay.
And then I'm also going to be releasing one called Minor Arcana, which kind of plays like a board control chess style game, but it's played with 2 poker decks.
Oh, interesting.
So I was originally going to be launching them with you guys
yeah.
when the plague wasn't happening.
Right.
But it actually caused my manufacturer to shut down. So instead, I'm going to be holding off and dropping a bunch of games all at once in probably September.
Okay. Well, hopefully you'll be all set to sell them at our November convention.
I should have a pretty solid stockpile for you guys. So,
excellent.
I'm also going to be doing, I did this earlier in April, actually. I did a free giveaway of a copy of each of the games.
Nice.
I actually plan to be doing that again for MEPACON and several other conventions I'll be doing in the upcoming couple of months.
Good. That's awesome.
So you guys are getting some free stuff.
We always love free stuff. We're happy to put stuff in raffles and charity auctions and...
Free stuff is the best.
I always enjoy some free stuff.
Yeah. Very good. So, what got you started in game design? How long have you been doing it?
I've been doing game design for probably about 6 years now. It was funny that I was working as an event tech and a lighting and sound tech.
Oh, nice.
I was on my way to a gig, and my partner on that job, Gary, is a huge anime fan, and we actually got onto the topic of Yu-Gi-Oh! And then we started talking about Magic the Gathering, and I went off on a tirade about things that I enjoyed about each game, things that I thought they got wrong, and that, you know, if I were to make a game, this is what I would do differently. And then he just told me, he's like, so why don't you make the game? So I did. And that was actually the first game I ever built was Caster 6 Elements, which looking at it after the fact, that game's been shelved for the time being because it would be so expensive to produce. So I've started going with smaller board games in lieu of a massive trading card game that's going to cost $38,000 just to publish.
Of course.
Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't have $38,000 laying around.
I really wish I did.
Oh, not just in your change drawer somewhere?
I mean, I've got R2-D2. I don't think that's $38,000.
No, I don't think so. Very cute, though.
Yeah. He's my little buddy. I actually just finished setting up my new office, so I've got toys everywhere.
Yeah, because in addition to being, a game designer, you're also a father, right?
I am. I have a 3-year-old. She actually just turned 3 2 weeks ago.
She's super cute.
Yeah, and she spent the morning kicking me in the face. So
that's pretty typical for 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
I have to admit that I am very grateful to be quarantined with an 8-year-old who is a huge gamer. So most days she spends her entire day on Roblox or Minecraft and watches YouTubers who are playing those games, and we don't really see her at all.
Well, that works.
Huh? Violet. In fact, she's running a Roblox kids event right now. I think
awesome.
Maybe, I'm not entirely sure what she's doing because we're both here streaming. So
I think she is.
As long as nothing's on fire, we're okay.
Emily reports that she is doing it. Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. We make her come out and eat 3 meals a day and get dressed, you know, so that's good enough.
I mean, do you really have to get dressed in quarantine?
I mean, at first I was like, whatever, you could just wear whatever you want, but she was wearing the same pajamas for days in a row, and I was like, that's not gonna work.
So I do have
change them once
for
in
you
a while.
guys a preview of a couple of the games I'll be launching this year. Let me figure out how to
Awesome.
Host disabled participant screen
share.
share.
Trish can fix that. That's me.
It's not me.
Oh, it's not me.
No, it's Trish is the host. But I think Trish might be frozen. That's my question.
She looks frozen on my screen.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, mine too.
She
We'll
looks
send her a
frozen
text.
in intense concentration.
She's frozen and trying to figure out how to unlock screen sharing.
We have stymied her.
Like, I thought she moved there for a second, and now I'm completely unsure.
Well,
maybe it was just a shift in pixels. I think she just looked up.
Well, now she
just
looks really
sent her a
angry.
text.
I'm going to assume it's at me.
That's usually a safe assumption, right? Yeah,
somebody's
her PC
mad.
laptop, I
Probably my
texted
fault.
her. I don't know. You have yet to make me mad, so we're in good shape.
This is true. This is very true.
You know, you've shown up to MEPACON when you said you were going to show up. That's good.
Well, there was that one weekend where I was doing a stream with Happy Fun Time Games, and in the middle of it, I got hit with the flu.
Ooh.
That was fun. That was fun. I ran out in the middle of the stream, and I came back 2 days later to pick up my stuff because I couldn't move for a couple of days.
I do remember that. That was rough. But you even took the time to say goodbye.
Yeah,
from a distance.
Brian
you were
from
already
Portal
practicing
actually
social
went to shake my hand,
distance.
and I looked at him like, that's probably a bad idea.
Yeah. We were talking last night on our stream about con crud, and you know, it sucks, but it's worth the risk.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Trisha's moving. She's back.
She's back, kind of.
We'll get there.
Oh, I'm the host now.
Now you have all the power.
Oh, you are now the host. So now you can share your screen.
Here we go. Okay, so is that popping up for you guys?
Not me.
Not you? Let's see if I can figure this out.
Yay, technology.
Right.
And then we're going to see if Eric can translate that into the stream.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
I got it.
You got it now.
There we are. So what I have here is going to be the cover art for Adversary Raid on Phobos.
Nice.
That's randomly generated dungeon crawler. You place down your locations face down, and it seats 2 to 4 players. So your team moves throughout this dungeon trying to clear all locations in a certain amount of time. If that time runs out, the team loses. If you clear all locations, you wind up facing off against the final boss. The whole premise of the game is that the Martian moon of Phobos is actually the equivalent of the Death Star, and they're going to blow up the sun if you don't beat the final boss in time.
Okay.
So that's your cover art there.
So it is coming through on this stream as just a black screen right now. Eric is currently working on fixing it.
Oh.
But they should be able to hear you at least.
All right then. I am screen
and
sharing.
we've got our
We try stopping the share. How's that come through, Eric? Am I back? Nope.
We'll figure it out.
Fair enough.
all
Are you guys
learning.
able to see anything or no?
We can see it. It's just the people out there can't see it.
Ah, gotcha. Settings, maybe.
We're trying to figure out because we're using OBS Studio. Oh, that. And then streaming through Restream. That's all been a fun learning experience.
Oh yeah,
That looks cool.
this here is
Does
one
look
of the
cool,
player
I can't-
characters. It's ARC 128. He's a Martian robot that responds to the distress signal sent out by the army from Earth that needs to go raid on Phobos. You'll see here he has his hit die. It's a D8. You just take a D8. You use that to count your HP. He's strong in combat. He's okay in tech, and he sucks at magic.
Getting it.
All right, we
there are
almost
4
have the
different player
picture.
characters. There's ARC 128. There's Artemis Tam, who is a human from Earth. She's part of the United Nations Space Force. There is Lunan Ari, who is from Enceladus, and then I also have Arlo Rev from.
Gonna make the whole thing smaller, Eric.
I'm working on it.
From some planet.
You're holding all.
I see it.
And each of the
It thinks you're
characters
holding
has different stats, different special attacks, different special abilities, and it's built so that they benefit the team as a whole, so that you can more easily walk through the dungeon. This here is actually one of the location cards, the Imperial Landing. There's 4 different factions that you'll be facing off against that are randomly drawn for every location. You'll see where it says challenges 3, so you would deal 3 faction cards out to battle them. There's the Imperial Legion, there's religious zealots, there's mutants, there are robots that you'll be going through and battling with your team. And that's how you clear out every location, and each location has a different effect on the challenges you're dealing with.
The picture is up on the stream.
Are we good? Cool. This here is a piece of the gear you can pick up. Every time you finish a challenge, you get the opportunity to pick up an item that can increase your stats. It can make your next roll easier. It can give you advantage on finding another item, something like that.
Nice.
So those are the previews I have for Adversary for you. Game's done. Again, I was going to be releasing that at the end of April, early May, and now it's probably September, just based on the virus.
Right.
Following that, I have the box art for Minor Arcana for you. It's a very simplistic game. You go through, you take different zones off of the board. Your starting positions are here and here. It's a 2-player game. Plays a lot like chess, but also kind of has Uno rules, if that makes sense. It's played with 2 poker decks. You start here, and your goal is to capture the opposite gate in the opposite corner.
Nice.
If you're going to capture an opponent's space, then you 2 kind of duke it out, depending on what cards they have in hand. So I'll show you a couple of the cards. This here is a sorceress card. It's the equivalent of a queen in a poker deck. It lets you change the element of the card you're playing. This is the earth element. And this is actually one of the 2 decks, the white color. This guy here is the thief card that lets you copy the opponent's face value on a card you're playing. And this is from the dark deck, so you would be able to see the 2 differences, who's controlling the board. And that's how you duke it out. You can play either a matching face value card or matching suit card to control a space. The Acolyte, that
So
gives you a bonus.
each player, do you have a light player and a dark?
Yes. Black
Okay.
and white, like I said, kind of like chess.
Okay. I think I missed a couple of words. My headset isn't perfect.
Gotcha. This here is the Acolyte card that actually gives whatever other card you play in tandem with it a boost. It'll allow you to match a face value if necessary. The face cards all, what's the word I'm looking for? The face cards are all played in tandem with another card so that you can get a boost or an added effect on to make it easier for you to play and take control of a space. And then we have the Warlord card, which allows you to wipe a space out completely, so nobody controls it. So that is what I have for you for Minor Arcana. And then I also have
Nice.
Caster War of the Elements, which is, again, a poker deck. This is actually going to be included with Minor Arcana, but is able to be purchased separately. It's a standard poker deck. The face cards have been replaced with the Acolyte, Thief, Sorceress, and Warlord again. And the actual rules for the game play a lot like War, but they, again, the face cards change. The suits have changed. I'll actually send you guys a PDF of the rules if you want to post it or
Sure.
anything.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do that.
But all three of those will be available in September and will be donated to you guys for a giveaway, auction, what have you, in November.
Great.
So that's what I have for you guys today. Do you have any questions?
Awesome. I don't think I have any questions right now. It's super exciting. I remember when you first came to the convention and you were play testing and everything, and it's so exciting for you that you're gonna be out and actually producing. That's really awesome.
Yeah, it's been a long road, but I'm finally getting there. We're finally getting there. I have a pretty solid team with me. My lawyer making sure I'm not, committing an offense anywhere, as well as our graphic designer Cyrus, who's actually putting together our website for us. And I have another guy who's working on digitizing all the games so they're available as apps as well.
Oh, that's great.
So
that's really important, especially right now.
Yeah, seriously. Because I'm playing 3 different D&D games right now, and I've been falling asleep in my office chair. So
having the right good people in place is really important.
It's so important. I don't know what I would do without my team at this point. Even my D&D group, I would consider them part of my team because they're the ones. I put them in a tavern one night. I'm like, okay, well, you're going to play this with an NPC. It went great, actually. Like, the game played smoothly. I'm like, cool, time to publish.
Nice.
The team is always key, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
James, how do you know when you think you're ready for the game to publish? What's the key there?
It's a lot of play testing.
That's a great question.
Primarily do a lot of graphic design and rules writing, but you always have to keep an eye out for when play testing for stuff you don't see. The best thing to do is not play the game. You give it to, like for Adversary, I gave it to 4 people to play on my kitchen table, and I stood there and watched. And the most important thing was being able to answer questions or clarify rules, because that'll actually give you the opportunity to go back and add that into the rule book. Once the game can be cleared without anybody asking questions, that's when you start working on the graphic design, putting everything in place and getting it ready to go.
Yeah, not being part of the play test, as it were, allows you to see how people interpret what you put out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I know how my game runs.
Right.
Without an issue. It's like, oh, okay, well, this does this, 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 and this. You know, if I'm sitting at a game table with Zach or Adam or anybody like that, they're not going to know everything I know.
Right.
So again, once they can clear the game without asking me anything, we're good to go.
And in relation to that, adapting it to kind of real world, I used to rewrite quality policy for a company. I knew what I was talking about, but if I wrote something that somebody was going to have to follow, they could interpret it a completely different way than I did it. So I'd have to throw it out there and stand back and let them do what they think they needed to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
I found that one of my most useful tools when doing rules writing is writing up a Google Doc and then sharing it out to 5 random people. I'll just scroll through my phone. Hey, will you give this a read through? Will you give this a read through? And then I'll text them an hour later. I'll be like, was there anything you didn't understand? Or they'll tag notes in. It's super, super important just to not be involved with that part.
Yep.
Yeah. And bringing it out to the real world, that's how it is with teaching. That it's like I can put directions on a worksheet or on an activity or a game that I create, but if the kids can't follow my instructions, then, that's a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have to think about it that if some kid in Minnesota buys this game, he's not going to be able to text me and be like, hey, man, how do I do this?
Yes. Yeah, and I'm sure there have been a lot of great games or otherwise great games that have failed because the rules weren't clear and you didn't know what you were doing. And, if you have to ask those questions, then you're probably not going to want that game.
Exactly.
First game that comes to mind in that respect is the game Infighting by TSR, which I liked the game. I liked the concept of the game. When Amanda Schaefer ran it at a MEPACon very, very, very too long ago, it was very cool, and she was able to adapt to the rules, but there were still so many holes in the actual rule set in the box that it was confusing unless you ahead of time had this is how this is going to work.
That was actually also an issue I ran into with the first game I designed, Caster 6 Elements. By the time I got through and wrote the rule book and answered everybody's questions in the rule book wound up being 52 pages.
Ooh.
That does happen.
So it was a lot of trying to condense down. What was really bad when I was working with a 6-point font and printed it off. I'm like, I can't even read this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheaters.
Right.
Yeah, we went out to Origins. This was at least a decade ago, and a friend of ours was press, and so one of the game designers said, "Here, take my game back and play with your friends." And so she brought it back to the room, and we played, and we could not follow the rules at all. And it was a shame because, again, it's one of those, maybe it was a great game ultimately. So I think it's great that you are really taking the time and really thinking through how to do that and do that process right so that you don't fall into that trap. That's awesome.
Yeah, everything needs to be written very simply and concisely.
Yes.
So there's a nice little middle ground that you have to hit.
Yep.
And it's really just, I don't want to look at it, have everybody else do it, and tell me what's wrong with it.
Yep.
Absolutely. Principle.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Now, and how do you integrate that feedback? Like, especially if you have people that are, somebody saying, "Oh no, I think this game mechanic is great," and somebody else is like, "Yeah, that doesn't work."
That's a very hit or miss thing for us. Like a lot of a lot of game mechanics are very central to a game. For instance, I'm working on another one right now called Alien Monsters. It's Pokemon Digimon ripoff. That I plan to probably drop in September, depending on time and testing. And somebody had recommended doing D6s instead of regular set of gaming dice. They're like, oh, I don't like the gaming dice. I think if you did D6s with essentially advantage and disadvantage on that would work out better for you and be easier to understand. But the thing is, when your LA monster evolves, all the dice scale up one size. So something like that wouldn't actually work. And I actually did try and play test it, and it just got messy. So the best thing to do when somebody's like, oh, well, this mechanic, I'm not wild about it, take their suggestion, try it out. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work.
Yeah. And I think that's great. We get that too with MEPACON. We said on our stream last night, if you have a suggestion, we'll take it. We'll listen to it. We'll discuss it and maybe try it out. But some things aren't going to work, and it's unfortunate. But, always be open to listening. And I think that's great that, you're able to take that feedback in stride. And
yeah, and that's always important, especially when you're trying to market as well. Like, oh, I have this idea. Okay, cool, we'll try it. Nobody wants to hear, no, that's not going to work right off the bat. Like there's no reason to not try an idea.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's great to, something that I would take away from this conversation is you talked about, the first game that you did, and you haven't released anything yet. I
put a lot of time into that game, and one day I looked at it and I looked at the financial burden of it. I'm like, that's not going to work.
Yeah. But you didn't just go, okay, forget it, I'm not going to do this anymore. You said, okay, I've learned from this experience, and now you know better what you want to do for the next time. And I think that's so great that you didn't let it go just because of that. And, I think that's definitely one of those qualities that is so great about games and gaming, is that you can't just give up. And, we see that resilience in you. I mean, you've been coming to MEPACON for 4 years and play testing games that you weren't even close to publishing. But it's so great to see that coming to fruition, even if it is a little bit delayed.
Yeah. As I said earlier, it's been a lot of work. It's finally starting to pay off. And I'm very glad I kept with it, because now my kid is running around with parts of my prototypes playing with them.
That's awesome. That's great. We gotta groom the next generation of gamers, right?
Oh,
start them young.
What was that, Trish?
I said it's so important.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't want to have to be organizing when we're 85 years old.
80 didn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
That's assuming you guys think I'm going to survive till 80.
Yeah, well, that was, I think the youngest director, definitely the youngest director. I think I might be youngest on staff pretty much. And, but it's funny as we age and our kids age that now, my stepdaughters are kind of becoming staff, and I took away their MEPA kid badge, MEPA teen badge. I said, no, you're staff now. We're putting you to work for real. Yep. But yeah, so it's great to see the next generation coming up.
Oh, it's great. My kid stole my foam master sword and shield the other day. She started whacking me with it. I'm like, you're definitely my kid. I'm raising you right.
Yeah. Yeah, our daughter got her first set of dice before she was 2. We got the plush dice, and then we got her the big dice that didn't get lost. And I have pictures of her rolling them at the game table. And she got to play for the first time. She played Pathfinder for the first time with one of the writers, Liz Lydell, yeah, from Paizo out at PAX Unplugged, and it was so much fun for her. And she rolled a natural 20 and beat the final boss, and then, you know, it was just epic for a kid. So we got her hooked on Pathfinder.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm sure your daughter will not be too far behind.
Oh, definitely not. The LA Monsters game I was telling you guys about, I'm actually working on making that appeal to a younger audience. Like I said, it's Pokemon, Digimon. You go through, your monster evolves as you go through. So starting out, your monster is this little cutesy little dude. And I'm gearing it specifically for the 5 to 200 crowd, because you know, I'm 33 now and I'm still playing Pokemon, so
there you go.
So just making sure to appeal to like a good young audience.
Yes.
Because I know that's going to be her first board game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's currently running around with my my Charizard plushie. So.
Yeah. We did an alphabet theme in our daughter's room when she was born, and I let her older sisters pick each of the alphabet letters, and there are definitely some very geeky choices that they made.
Excellent.
There's definitely a Yoda on there. I think I steered them away from Cthulhu, but we have about 8 Chibi Thulus around the house that she has adopted over the years.
I have a friend who started actually crocheting Chibi Cthulhus recently, and Chibi Baphomets as well.
Okay.
I walked into her house last week and she just handed me 12 tiny little elder gods. It was adorable.
Nice. Very nice. That's great.
They're so cute, and the kids have no idea.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, oh, this is such a cute little thing.
By the way.
Well, it's it wasn't C.J. Henderson had Baby's First Cthulhu.
Yes.
This book.
Mm-hmm.
I have a copy, at least one copy somewhere.
Yeah, I have it around the house. I have so many things autographed by C.J. Henderson between myself and my wife's husband, who was a big fan of C.J. Henderson. We would shop at MEPACON, get him a load of books, and that would be his birthday gifts or Christmas, depending on spring, fall, Father's Day gifts.
Yeah. We did a lot of that Father's Day gift shopping at MEPACON. I don't know what we're gonna do this year. But I do see some of our vendors are posting stuff in the vendor hall, so find some stuff in there. Well, thanks so much, James.
It's not a good opportunity to buy cool stuff. Go to waste.
Yeah, right. Anything else, James, you want to share with us?
I think I'm pretty much good for now. That's all I had prepared for you.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for stopping in and hanging out with us for a little bit.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. As always,
James.
You too. I will see you all in person in November, hopefully.
All right, let's cross our fingers.
Right.
And hope that everybody stays safe and healthy.
Nobody get the plague.
Yes, please. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy.
Wash your hands and wear a mask.
Yeah.
I will catch you guys on the flip side.
All right. Thanks, James.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so at this point, I think we're going to probably close out for a little while. We've been at this for almost 2 hours. We've got Dan Hundich and Brendan LaSalle coming up at 7 o'clock. So we'll have a good time hanging out with them and hearing about what they've got going on. So make sure you come back and join us then.
Sounds good.